Hey, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be going over part 6 of our Unlocking Webex CCE with TTEC Digital. So today's topic is going to be a connected agent experience. But before we do that, just a quick reminder for who I am. I'm Nathan Galloway. I'm the Chief Architect of TTEC Digital's Cisco practice. So the topics for today are, this is kind of our first breath of contact center in this series. I chose to start with more so some plumbing issues, and taking a look at the contact center. I want to talk about why we are starting here. I want to just as I've done in other parts of this series, I want to make sure I level set what my kind of beliefs or definitions of things are. So I want to talk about context and task, and then customer data, and then desktop and CRM. And then I want to end with a demonstration. Not going to get into the technical weeds of this, just want you to have a high level view of what this looks like, and then you can reach back out to TTEC Digital. We'll be happy to show it to you, deep dive on whether that's the business or the technical ends to help you further understand it. So why start here? First and foremost, I do recognize that contact centers today want to sell you on journey and AI. The legacy ones, the new ones, really everybody's kind of at this same point. And I maybe could have thrown in the word communications or communications platform to go along with that. Everybody's kind of jumping to those elements, and I very easily could have just opened up with or done like a one video mini series and talked about journey AI and communications and all the different channels that are out there. But what I find is that people, and I think that there's a reason for this, I'll talk about that in a second, they're skipping over, and what I feel that's happening is even worse. Customers are getting shielded from reality, getting sold on all the great stuff that these platforms can do from a journey and AI perspective, until after their purchase is made. Then they come back and they're like, wait a second here, I needed some pretty basic desktop features, maybe a CRM integration, omni-channel. I thought that was a given. It's 2023. We were talking about this 10 years ago. Where did that go? And then lastly, an approach to customer data. So we're in the process of building our contact center from the ground up in an attempt to do everything in the best way possible. To me, yeah, these are the concepts that I think you wanted to get, or are still expecting to get out of the platform that you're working on in 2023. But I've seen this, and I've seen this across most platforms. They're not there. Again, what I'm going to cover today is going to be the building blocks that are eventually going to enable us to focus on, the things I've said so far, communications, journey, and AI. Once we're there, I'd be happy to sell you on journey and AI, and hopefully I will be able to show some very valuable pieces, in further parts of this series. So, okay, we're starting with kind of this connected agent experience and really making sure that our contact center of the future is capable of the contact center of the past. So two pieces that I look at starting out. And task is going to be a heavy focus of today. Context. So again, the context starts to jump us ahead a little bit. But what I think of when I think of context or conversational context, this information is long-lived. It can be occurring anywhere around us today, right? Whether a customer is off on web mobile, in our store, a virtual assistant, interacting with our human agent, you've got all this context, and then ultimately that context might be useful across multiple tasks. It's sometimes even to fulfill a single objective, multiple tasks might be involved. So now we kind of get down into what I'm going to define from a contact center perspective, this idea of a task. The task being some short-lived short-lived interaction, and from a contact center agent perspective, we're looking at that typically by phone or chat, although you have many channels on chat these days, or email, and then as I kind of say, that point in time interaction where access to context is critical. Okay, let's go to customer data. So when I think of customer data, I'm talking about personal data, my social, my birth date, my first name, my last name, and then I've got all these events going on alongside me, right? Maybe I logged into the website, I authenticated myself, add some to my shopping cart, click the contact us button, hung up on the contact center agent because my sentiment dropped and was extremely low. I got a transcript from that. All this is data about this. Some of this data is generated by the contact center, some of it is not, of course. But in any regard, I want you to hear my belief that customer data should not be stored in the contact center. We already have enough tools to store that data. Let's not create another one with the contact center, because ultimately the contact center would just create another silo of this data. So where should our data be our customer data be stored? CRM, journey tools, data warehouse. The demo today, you're going to see how I'm taking the customer data that the contact center comes into contact with and not just putting it in the database. I'm going to do something else with it. Secondly, what should be stored in our contact center, what data? Agent, call type, queue data, stuff that is about the contact center, right? And nobody outside the contact center needs to necessarily be looking at, right? So that's the types of things that we want to use our contact center for, and ultimately I kind of, get a little bit bothered when I look at RFP requirements, like how do you store our customer data? Show me, X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, is this a contact center RFP or is this, a customer data RFP? We have to be putting things into the right box, which is, go clear back to my intro, something that I'm very keen on. So lastly, what about the data the contact center collects about customers? I just said this a second ago, but the same answer. It's customer data. Don't store it in the contact center. The contact center is too isolated to be the holder of any customer data. So we want to get that out there, and I'm going to show you, at least from an agent experience perspective, and agents are typically dealing with the CRM, or I'm calling it the CRM today. Very easily could be using the term system of record to kind of just emphasize the tool that the agents are primarily doing their work in. Okay, so lastly, we've talked about the context, the task, the customer data, now the agent desktop and the CRM. So now you've got to make these decisions. Well, I know that I don't want my data inside the agent desktop. Meanwhile, I want it inside the CRM, but I start to look at these comments I have here. I want a single pane of glass. I want all the desktop features. I want to use every channel. And we're talking at an enterprise level here. And so my comment is, for enterprises, yeah, you as the person watching this video might not be saying all these things, but more times than not, if I go across your business, somebody is. And so what we're finding at the enterprise is that need to be extremely flexible, make sure that we're not losing features when we integrate with the CRM, provide a single way across this, and as well, I could easily just nail that down to wanting to never take a feature out to get something else, right? We're going to end up, especially in an enterprise environment, finding a need to do just about everything. So these things have to play nice, and that's ultimately how we're going to really try and create this connected agent experience. Lastly, what I'll say just about what you're about, I'm going to get to the demo now. What you're going to see in this demonstration is really purely TTEC Digital value add. there are a couple things to look at here. One is, why is this not out of box with Cisco? I can certainly cite some reasons that I believe there. I think some might be real, others might be things that are a little bit exaggerated. But what I will say is, just inside Cisco, there's an extremely strong partner community. What you see today might not be the best solution for your enterprise. However, it does get you in the right kind of track of understanding all the options. And the reason that I want to show you this track is because it is leveraging Cisco to its maximum. No extra infrastructure or anything like that. Everything runs natively. Really everything is JavaScript. So, it's all on the browser. Extremely fast and able to respond quickly. So, some things like that. Whereas we can get into other solutions that kind of take us out of that mold of what Cisco Contact Center does at its core, so kind of transforms our contact center. This is all about using the Cisco Contact Center to the fullest, and again, where we're kind of supplementing that, that is in kind of a couple key areas that Cisco out of box doesn't necessarily focus on because of the strong partner community that exists. Okay, so let me jump over to the demo and I'll show you what we mean. Okay, so unlike previous sessions or sections, you are seeing a much more realistic desktop for the first time. Much of this is kind of out of box Cisco. Like I said, want to make sure all of these features are available, and you see that I kind of have a two-screen approach going on here. I've got a Salesforce or my CRM system of record over here on the right, and as well my agent desktop over here on the left. I want to start off with a more of a conceptual to give you an idea on how I see everything shaping up. So what you're going to see when I do this quick call into queue is that all I'm going to do is call in with just my phone number. Not going to go through an IVR, not going to identify myself. Literally the only thing that this desktop is going to know whenever the call gets to me is going to be the phone number of that person. Now, we're going to send that to the CRM. The CRM receives every event, and this is one of the pieces that really love about the way we're connecting to the CRM. We're kind of giving an out-of-box way, and I am using the out-of-box way today, but also the CRM has the ability, and much like what we find with enterprises, you've all got your own use cases. So every event that's happening inside this agent desktop is getting exposed to the CRM. You can take that and do whatever you want with it. Very, very easy to use from that perspective. But again, what we're going to do here, phone number comes in, we're going to ask the CRM, hey, do you by chance happen to know who and what this person might be interacting with us about? CRM is going to feed that back to our agent desktop, and we'll see where we kind of end up from there. Let me send this call in.
Instead of waiting, we can call you back with a please hold for the next available agent.
No, still nothing here, and we can see it quickly updates. And what you saw here is we're screen popping the case. Now, I could screen pop the contact or the case again. We can do whatever we want here, but the default approach is to screen pop the what. And we're showing that to the agent here. If the agent were to close something out, they can easily reopen things. I can open the contact, I can open the case. Okay, so that's just kind of the 101, right? We take the information. Now, we can tell our CRM the who and the what. Maybe I go through an IVR lookup, or the virtual agent collects my information, and we figure that out on the front end. That's great. We can pass that to the CRM. But in this case, I just wanted to show you the very rawest interaction that we have, where we basically say, here's a phone number, CRM. Tell me what you know, and you feed that back to me, and then I take it on my side. Now, of course, with this now being provided to the contact center, if I were to transfer that call around, conference people in, and we'll see a little bit more of this when we get to a little bit of omnichannel later on, that all stays with it, right? So that's the beautiful thing going on here. Likewise, we got some other things in here like clicking on verification, right? So the UI can be customized. Again, this is really meant to be flexible for the enterprise versus, here's your box, you're stuck in it, and one of the things that I really like about this is just, it's so simple that we have absolutely no problem customizing it to an enterprise's needs. Okay, so let me wrap that. And as I do that, just kind of a quick reminder what we just saw there. Inbound, we saw screen pop, we saw CRM feeding us back some information. I think that you would expect to get that out of your system. Let's do one final scenario here, and I want to show you kind of the full picture of this and how nice it really can be. So over on, you're not going to be able to see this screen here, but I'm actually going in and chatting with my virtual agent. I'm going to send this in, and we can see a chat pop up here. Now, quick note, I've taken this and gone back to ECE for right now. I'm going to bring in Webex Connect in later sections, but the reason I did that for today is to understand we've been able to do this for a long time. I probably just unfortunately haven't seen it. So I went back to ECE for today's video just to show, like, it's not the chat client that's changing the game on us here. What we're doing is maximizing the Cisco features to their fullest potential. So let's now, and we can of course, and just prove I have a real chat up, I'll say hey from my customer over here. So we've got our chat up. That's not really what I care about. I can use that for whatever I need. But what I want to do, and also, by the way, you also saw a new screen pop go on here, right? So we've got our screen pop. I'm not going to go through that again outside of the fact that we identified the who and the what exactly as I said, even though we changed to a different channel. Now, I want to do omni-channel. And so again, I think that this is a big hardship, and talking about, on Cisco, I think that omni-channel just out of box is a little bit harder to get to without something like this. On other platforms, you start seeing that there are gaps between channels. And so, again, I'm really hoping that you're going to take away from this a connected experience that we're created. And in doing that, here's the example I'll give. Now, I would love to crack open the console here and show you how all the underlying feeds and how all of the data is being copied from task to task, and really prove that if I call a supervisor here, not only are they going to get that call from my agent, but they will also get a screen pop and they'll be part of the context that you'll see here in a couple minutes. So again, this is all entirely connected. Let me show you the value of this. So I'm going to click call here, and for right now I'm going to call myself. Like I said, I could be escalating to a supervisor. I could be calling the customer here, escalating to voice. So let's do that now. So earlier I talked about this concept of context, right? And I'm going to get that on mute. I talked about this concept of context and as well as task. So we technically have, I'm going to actually end that way I don't hear any echo, but we actually have two separate channels going on right now, but a single task. So we've taken all of that, married it together, and form that into a single task, right? Or kept that same task, right? And all of this was still associated to the same who and the what. We never switched what we were working on here. Let's say that I was still on that call, which I technically am because I'm in route. I'm going to complete this this chat interaction. We'll wait a couple seconds. Have a good follow-up with the customer. We'll apply that, close sale, we'll make ourselves ready again. So I've waited to the end to kind of show you the value that we're creating here. We want to take this customer data that the contact center has come into contact with and make it available to the systems that should be holding on to that data. So over here, I'm going to click on my related tab, and let me just crack open the activity history we created. So we started an inbound chat interaction, we had an outbound call, we ended our inbound interaction, ultimately we ended that voice interaction with a wrap reason of closed sale. We can click in on here, see some additional data about this. Again, you have the option to decide everything that you would want written in here. You're provided the raw to go along with what I would call the suggestions. So if you have, maybe you're storing some piece of data in a variable and you wanted to write that in very easily to update that and have that store whatever you're looking for. So again, entirely flexible, designed for the enterprise who needs that level of openness and flexibility to ultimately get what they need out of their agent experience. The last thing I'll tell you about is, we'll start to bring in other features here like co-browse. This little task thing and the connection with the CRM has the ability to listen to what I'll call activity events for tasks across the entire desktop. So let's say I were to go into a co-browse session, and we'll do this later on when we demonstrate co-browse. But we'll go into a co-browse, we'll come out of that co-browse, and you'll see that very similar to what we just saw on my activity, we'll see a started co-browse, ended co-browse, right? And you could log additional data along with that. You can create your own gadgets and send that activity along with it. So very, very clean and easy way to start interacting and getting the data out of your contact center and putting it in the places where it should go. Okay, I'm going to wrap there and just want to say thank you for listening to part 6 of our Unlocking Webex CCE with TTEC Digital series. This has been our part on a connected agent experience. Thanks.